My name is Mandy, and I'm 16 years old. One day, I almost lost my best friend, and it all began after Alex was transferred into our class. Casey and I usually liked completely different guys, but this time, I saw my friend's eyes light up. Yeah, I guess we'd both fallen in love with the same new guy. And of course, we couldn't miss the first party at his house. But when everyone gathered at the pool, my mood was completely ruined. After all, I knew that this was never a war I could win. And I was right. As soon as Casey changed into a swimsuit, all the boys' heads turned to her. Alex couldn't say a single word, and he just gaped at her figure too. Of course, my friend was gorgeous, and any girl would look plain next to her, especially me. But I wasn't gonna give up, and I decided I would fight for Alex's attention. If only I had known what it would lead to, I would have huddled in the far corner and sat there, quiet as a mouse. But then, I remembered that I had something to surprise the boys with. I knew how to jump into the water and make it look beautiful. I came up to the pool, pulled in my stomach, and with all of my might I shouted, "Hey, look what I can do!" And I suddenly started running towards the pool edge when I suddenly slipped on the wet tiles, and even though I tried to slow down, I ended up waving my arms around, looking like an idiot, and either way, it was too late. There was a loud splash, and the water splattered all over the guys around. God, it was humiliating. I fell into the water like a sack of potatoes. But that wasn't the worst part. I came out of the pool looking like a disheveled panda. My mascara had run, and there were dark circles under my eyes. My hair looked like it was a pile of straw. Yeah, it wasn't a great look. No wonder everyone doubled over laughing, especially Alex and Casey. As you may have guessed, though, I didn't want to stay at the party any longer after that. I ran out of Alex's house as soon as I could, and I went home. I thought he would always see me as the clumsy girl from then on, especially when Casey was so perfect. But the next morning, my crush met me at the school door. "Mandy, don't worry about yesterday. It was really funny." Yeah? Yeah, that was my plan all along. Just imagine, he was speaking to me first. And that's why I couldn't focus on any of the lessons that day. By the end of classes, my dreams had carried me so far that I already considered us a couple. And, of course, I expected Alex to take the next step, but all of a sudden, I saw him walking next to Casey. "Alex and I are heading one way. See you tomorrow, Mandy." I ran up, grabbed Alex's hand, and I started dragging him away, all while my friend looked very surprised. But I only did that in my head. In reality, I stood on the porch and I waved them on with a silly smile. I was so naive. Alex had probably just felt awkward about the previous night, and he wanted to support me as the one who had thrown the party. And I'd already imagined all sorts of things. How could I ever compare myself to Casey? The choice between the two of us was pretty obvious. But the next day, I had a chance to one-up my friend. The school was staging a Shakespeare performance and announced casting for the role of Juliet. I would have never dared to take part in it, but Alex was gonna play Romeo. I didn't even hesitate. I just memorized a few lines during class, and I came to my first ever audition. But my confidence quickly evaporated when I saw Casey among the other applicants. "Oh, Mandy! You're here too? I've been dreaming of playing on stage for a long time, and so now I finally decided to try it." "I hope you fail," I thought. But out loud, I said, "Good luck, Casey. I'm sure you'll do great." She was brilliant, and that became glaringly obvious when she went on stage. She was gentle, airy, and she had a beautiful, musical voice. She was graceful in every movement, and I could never be like her. Wait, no. Why couldn't I? I glared at Casey the whole time, trying to memorize and notice every gesture, every emotion she displayed. And when it was my turn, I repeated everything my friend had done an hour before. Everything was going perfectly until suddenly someone laughed in the middle of my performance. I instantly froze, and I forgot all my lines. I was in the middle of the stage, completely silent. I was a failure. As you may have guessed, the role went to Casey. Now, she would be the one to kiss Alex on stage to loud applause, and I would have to watch and pretend to be elated for her. No, I was not ready for that. And so that's why I ran away from the casting even faster than I had from Alex's house. But my bad luck followed me everywhere I went. At home, I suddenly remembered that I had to prepare an important essay for the next morning. I'd been so caught up in the fight for Alex that I hadn't even started. I spent the entire evening trying to focus and study, but I couldn't think about anything except that I was failing. If only I was as beautiful as Casey was. Huh? Well, who could that be? It was my friend, standing on the threshold. Hey, you want to go to a cafe and celebrate my new role? Casey, now's not a good time. I completely forgot about my essay, so I still have to write that and... Oh, say no more. I got that. Casey walked right into my room and sat down at my desk. We started looking up information on the internet together. And when I next opened my eyes, it was morning already, and my friend was handing me a finished essay. I hadn't expected that from Casey. She had spent the entire night writing it and hadn't even woken me up after I dozed off. Thank you, Casey. You're a lifesaver. It's nothing. We're best friends after all. And at that moment, I felt so grateful to Casey, I forgot about our competition. But as soon as we walked into the classroom, I felt horribly jealous again. Alex sat down next to my friend and started enthusiastically whispering something in her ear. Casey was giggling so disgustingly that I forgot about all of the good things that she had just done for me. And that's when I decided to do perhaps the most despicable thing I'd ever done in my life. When Casey walked out of the classroom during the break, I crept up to her bag, looked around, making sure that no one was looking at me, and I pulled out her essay. Hold on. Before you try to say what a horrible person I am, just please try to understand. In the moment, I was so mad with jealousy, and I barely had control over myself. But please, trust me. As soon as I sat down at my desk, I immediately regretted it. But by then, it was too late. Casey had come back into the classroom, and I stared at the floor in shame. I did amazing during the class thanks to my friend. But when it was Casey's turn, she started to nervously rummage around in her bag and eventually dumped all of its contents onto the desk. Miss Brown? I swear to you I had everything ready. I must have just forgotten my essay at home. Uh-huh. Come up with a better excuse next time, Casey. You'll retake it in a week. But no, I really... This conversation is over. Casey burst into tears and ran out of the classroom. I wanted to run after her, but it was like I was glued to my chair. This was all because of me. That's how I'd repaid my friend for her help. After all, if it hadn't been for her, I would have been the one to fail, and I probably would have gotten grounded by my parents. And now, Casey, my best friend, she was gonna get punished instead of me. I kept calling her after class, but she didn't pick up. She didn't show up the next day either, and I spent the whole day looking at her empty desk and sadly hating myself. Casey's parents must have been furious with her yesterday, and she didn't want to show up at school with her face swollen from crying. I came up to Alex during a break. I thought maybe he would know since he and Casey were really close. Hey, Alex, do you know where... But all of a sudden, without even listening to what I had to say, he turned around and ran. What? Where were his manners? Did I really betray my only friend for some guy like him? I had to find out the truth no matter what, so I ran to Casey's house right after school. However, her mom opened the door instead. Mrs. Thompson, I'm here to see Casey. She wasn't at school today, so I was really worried. Oh, Mandy. Then you had better visit her in the 3rd ward of the city hospital. I felt my blood run cold. What happened? Casey has the 3rd, almost the most severe form of asthma. She has suffocation attacks at any time of the day or night, but she's learned to stop them. She runs away to a secluded place, takes a few medications, and in a few minutes, she looks like a completely healthy girl again. But yesterday, because of so much stress, she suddenly got worse. The drugs stopped helping. We called an ambulance, and they took Casey to the hospital. I ran there as fast as I could. I had been so stupid. Behind Casey's beauty was her grueling struggle with this disease. I had been so blinded by jealousy that I had never seen it. I just made things worse for both of us. I froze in the ward entrance. I was so afraid to look my friend in the eye, but leaving would mean betraying her again. I opened the door and I saw a pale, haggard face with dark circles under her eyes. I barely recognized my beautiful friend, who was usually brimming with health and countless admirers. I sat down on the corner of the bed and took Casey's hand, and I burst into tears like I was a little girl or something. Casey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all because of me. I stole the bag from your paper. I thought if you just had to study hard, you'd spend less time with Alex. I just like him. And I didn't want it to happen like this. I didn't know about your illness. I'm sorry. I've never been so ashamed of myself. I expected to hear just about any words from her. I knew that I would deserve them no matter what they would be. But then Casey patted me on the head and said with a smile, Mandy, don't be silly. Alex doesn't like me. Even at the first pool party, he already told me that he really liked you. But he was too shy to approach you, and so he decided to try and get to you through me. All this time, he was trying to prepare a romantic date for you on the roof. I was just trying to help him not make a mistake with, the food, candles, flowers, that sort of thing. After all, I know you better than anyone. I wanted to sink through the floor. I was cursing the fact that they had not invented a time machine yet. It would have solved so many of my problems. I started to cry even harder, and Casey suddenly stuck out her pinky. Let's make up. I can't stay mad at you for long. I lay down on the bed next to Casey, and we talked about all sorts of things throughout the evening. In the end, I promised I would visit her every day, and I would never betray her again. All that was left was dealing with Alex. After all, nothing was stopping us from being together now. The next morning, I came up to him during the break and said that I knew about his feelings and that they were mutual. But then, Alex destroyed my dreams. Mandy, I saw you steal your best friend's essay. She's gonna have to retake the exam because of you. And after that, all my feelings for you disappeared. I don't want to date someone who's capable of stabbing someone she loves in the back. But I already apologized to Casey. She forgave me. Alex, wait! Don't go! But my crush had already disappeared into the crowd of classmates. Of course, I was upset, but I didn't really want to make a tragedy out of it. It served me right. After all, jealousy made me do a stupid, horrible thing, and it turned me into a completely different person. No wonder Alex didn't recognize me as the cute, clumsy girl he'd fallen in love with at first sight. But I've already made up my mind that I would never let envy get the better of me again. Tell me in the comments down below, what have you learned from your mistakes?